turn.
Yeah. So he's like
And
holding the beer like in one hand and the pistol in the other.
Take a swig.
Yeah, it's good though.
Everyone in the group like chuckles, including the other squad. If you know.
Let's see. Thorn, if you do not hit this, I'm drilling you without Vox around. You won't have help in the next exercises.
So as you're...
Boom! A +10.
Yeah, go ahead. Nice. Yeah. So you shoot through, let's say, the orange one at the side and go right through it and blow up the red one as well. And then everybody like cheers, and Voxbox just goes, "Take that, second squad scum," and Elis just turns to him and says, "Excuse me, trooper?" And Iverick just goes, "Excuse me, sir," and he just walks off. I'm gonna go check on Crater. I don't think he should be left alone.
You better.
Yeah, so he looks a bit like sullen and walks off again, clearly a little too drunk to be here right now. And Alice just sort of turns to Fit and says, "That one's a bit of a talker."
A wild card.
Yeah. So he just sort of smiles and says, "I suppose that counts as 2, he says, and looks back at the smoking bottles again and says, "I'm hard pressed to make any difference here, but let's see if I can." And then he takes another shot. And he hits it. He destroys the silver bottle here. So there's only 2 left. If you get one of them, you win by default. Alright.
Alright. Am I still, like, inspired?
I would suppose so, yeah.
Shoot well, preferably.
I don't know. Does the kind of threat of being... of having more exercises to do?
Oh, yeah. That's
besides
like
the rest
threat.
of the squad.
That's, like, almost worse than dying. Yeah, there we go.
So you fire off the last of your shot from your las pistol, and the greenish bottle in the back just explode. Oh no, you already blew one up. The silver one on the left-right just blows up as well, leaving only 1 bottle left. And you with more points than Elis can possibly earn. And Elis just sort of grimaces and says, "Well, I'll be damned." And then he sort of looks back to Thorn again and says, "You were a damn good crack shot, son. It's safe to see why First Squad is lauded as being the best in the platoon."
Thank you, sir.
He just sort of salutes you, slowly, and then looks back to Fit and says, "Well, as much fun as this has been, Fit, I need to get my men in order. The night wears on." And he just sort of goes into his pocket, takes out a small pouch, and counts out about 100 Trongeld, which is about a month's worth of pay for a sergeant, and he tosses it to you and says, "With my compliments, sir."
Thank you, Elis. May I see you in the battlefield?
He says, "Aye, on the battlefield, and most likely in whatever ship we get billeted on above. I'll see you men tomorrow. Good luck to you all, and don't enjoy the festivities too hard." So he and his men walk off, leaving you guys in the alleyway alone.
I think I'm going to cheer and shout that the drinks are on the sergeant.
Oh no, my friend. And I pass the pouch over to Piker. The drinks are on Piker.
So Sentinel just comes up and pats you on the back and says, "Well done, trooper. That was good shooting. You did the squad proud."
Thanks, sir.
The Boomer offers her congratulations as well.
Mm-hmm. So you guys know that a number of your companies seem to have disappeared. Easy didn't come with you. Neither did Crater, and Voxbox went off to see if you could find them, but it looks like all 3 of them have disappeared now, including Angel.
Yeah. Let's go back inside, see if the others have missed us.
Okay, so you guys head back inside, and you find that the bar has emptied a bit because it's getting kind of late. Let me just pull it out. There's only a few stragglers still left on the bar. but it's still quite boisterous and noisy, sir.
And
But
people are gone.
it looks like Easy has wandered off somewhere, as he commonly does. And your other squad mates seem to have disappeared as well, including Angel and Crater and Voxbox.
So I would say it's best that we collect ourselves for the night, man. We have a big day ahead of us tomorrow.
You guys want to head back to your billeting in the Grenadier Guards barracks? Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to ask this guardsman that I'm next to if he saw where the rest of our group went at all.
So he looks at you and says, you mean the loud one and the one that caused the commotion earlier at the table?
Yes, those two.
As well as the girl.
Well, the angry one collected his winnings, bought a casket of beer that could have fueled a platoon with it, and was about to call it off when the loud one came back and decided to give him a hand. Last I saw of them, they were, draining it dry before they wandered out screaming something about going to see the last of the sights. I don't know where they went from there. As for the quiet one who was at your table before, he left not long after you and the other sergeant went out into the alleyway. The one over by the fire, the girl, I don't know, she just disappeared. I haven't seen her since.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I say to Thorn, buy up the last rounds, Thorn. Let's collect our men.
So Sentinel just comes up to you and whispers, Sergeant, it would look pretty ill if we don't get all the men together before roll call tomorrow. We need to be ready to get onto the Halo barges up to the transport ships before 600. We need to get a pretty early night.
So
maybe we asked the barman what the sites are. Sorry, did they say they went to see the last of the sites?
the
or?
brothel.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, well.
Well, I was going by there on my way home anyway, so...
An ogre in a brothel, oh Jesus.
All in a china shop.
He's gonna need at least 6 women.
Yeah. So Thorn, forget the drinks. Let's get our men.
yeah, let's.
We have a
let's get
ship
some
to
women
catch.
there.
I ride Vet to the next location.
Before we go, Boomer noticed this shiny pair of scissors on the mantle of the fireplace. I like them.
Alright, well, try and do well, is there a sleight of hand in this? I can never remember. Let me.
There is.
Yeah, there is.
I'll do a sleight of hand for me then.
Okay.
You'll take.
So the bartender just shouts over and says, Oi! That's an heirloom, don't touch that, you.
It's an heirloom?
Yeah, it's me mother's. I'll take no drunken crap from any grenadiers. You're supposed to be shipping out. You should clear out now.
What's it for? Is it sewing scissors or what?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah? Well, how old are they? Is your mother still alive?
And he just sort of looks at you and says, That's none of your fetting business. Get out of here, woman.
I'm interested! I'd like to know.
I'm fat.
That's going to happen every time, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, Boomer just says, they look really nice. They look fancy. Looks like she took good care of her stuff.
Okay.
So he just says, yeah, I've heard it before. And he just sort of eyes you like you're about to rob something. So you guys leave the bar again, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
If no one else.
I'm
Let's-
specifically never going to take sleight of hand.
So you guys go out into Bellium Primus, which is the main city of Thermos, and the sprawling architecture of the underground city, envelops in front of you. This city alone has about 10 of the 50 million inhabitants that live on your world, and it is a pretty vast and sprawling city. The machinery and archaeotech equipment needed to keep people alive in this world is advanced and very old, and a very large enclave of the Adeptus Mechanicus have their own enclave here on the planet that keep all this machinery running, including the very advanced maglev system, which runs across the breadth of the entire world between the hives. And it's also this maglev system you'll need to take in order to go back to the barracks of ATX 103, which is where you guys are billeted. Yes, there's also no suicide jumping from the bridge just beside you. So you guys are currently...
You have to use the next bridge, not this one.
Mm-hmm. You guys are not far from the maglev rail line that will take you back to your billet. And it's only about a 20-minute walk. You have no idea where the rest of your squad have gone, but you're quite sure that they know that they need to be back, before muster at 0600. So where do you guys want to head to? There's also some of you who are not here. Obviously, I need to adjust that. So these guys are not here with you.
I'd like to go and visit the brothel.
There is a brothel nearby. Yeah.
Crater and Voxbox said they would be going to see the sights, so that means brothel for sure.
Sentinel just sort of nods and says, "Without a doubt, sir," knowing those two.
So let's go see the sights and drag them along.
Boomer goes, "Oh no."
So you guys head towards the brothel, which is just in a sort of a dingy back alley, not too far from the Maglev line along a place called Copper Street, because of the copper wiring, which transports a lot of the cognitive network around the city. And the brothel is basically a 3-story, pretty well-maintained, cement-style building, still built in the wafting Gothic architecture of most imperial cities. And, the bouncers outside the door don't pay you much mind as you guys enter into the sort of lofty area. And as soon as you get in, you hear the raucous roar of what is undoubtedly Voxbox as he pats Crater on the shoulder. And the Crater is hauling what appears to be a huge casket of the fermented algae beer that you guys all quite commonly drink, because it's the only thing you can drink on this world. If you want to call it famous, it's like it tastes worse than vodka and gets you twice as drunk. Yes, you drink algae vodka. Congratulations. Yeah.
Nice.
So they have a huge casket of it, and they're literally drinking from the the tap at the bottom of it, and they're laughing and shouting. And the madam of the brothel is clearly displeased that they're here at this rowdy hour, and she's insisting, telling them that all the girls are booked and they'll have to wait. And then Voxbox is just slamming on the thing and says, "Woman, do you know who I am? Do you know who this is? We're princes of this mine, my lady. We need to see the ladies now." And she's just ignoring him, and she says, "This isn't some infantry fuckhole, And then he just sort of looks at them and says, "This is a classy estate for classy people." And then Voxbox sort of says, "Oh yes, you look quite classy yourself, madam." And then she just sort of looks disgusted with him, if you know what I mean. And then Crater just sort of looks back as he's laughing, takes a double take as he sees you fit, and he drops the casket, which crashes to the ground and rolls off with a big dent in it. And he looks at you and just salutes and says, "Hello, sir. Sorry, sir. Didn't mean to, wander off, sir." And he just sort of looks at you clearly out of it.
The wandering is fine, soldier. The disrespect towards the business owner is not.
And then Ibrick just sort of turns around as he hears Kratos talk, and he just, he murmurs under his breath, but he's so loud you can all hear it, and says, "Oh, fetting hell." And he salutes and says, "Sorry, sir, just wanted to get a little fun in before the roll call at 0600, sir. I promised we'd be back before 0400. We may be a little tired, but we'll be wide and awake with kit, sir."
Man, tomorrow is going to be a very important day. I know that you're going to miss your homes. Some of you might not. But this is an important job, this one we're doing. So, please, The girls are booked, as the lady has said. Respect her wishes and the schedules of the girls. It's not here that you're going to get lucky.
Okay, so they just look a bit sullen and forlorn for a moment, and then they, Voxbox helps Crater pick up his, large casket of booze, and then they just sort of like get into line behind you guys again, and Voxbox just comes up beside you, Piker, and says, "It's a pity it was this one girl, Madeline. She'll miss me for the rest of eternity now." And he sort of just smiles at you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
He says, "Well, you went off to play the hero with the other sergeant from
Hero,
second
I
squad.
won.
What was I supposed to do?" "Oh,
Yeah.
you did." And he just sort of looks at you and says, "Do you want to spot me 20 Tron gold?"
If you carry my shit back home.
He just sort of laughs and says, "It's not like you were going to make me do that anyway." And he just sort of picks up your stuff and says, "You're on."
Yeah, and I give him 20.
He just sort of smiles and like pockets it, and like twirls the whiskers of his mustache and lights up a glow stick and says, "Well then, if we're going to get back to the billet in time, we'd best get going." And he just sort of looks around and says, "Sergeant, we seem to be a bit short. Where's Angel and
Yes.
Easy?"
Well, that was the question I was going to put to you, soldier. Have you seen them?
He just sort of shrugs and says, "Do you think those would have come with us?" And then Crater just sort of barks off a laugh before he looks at Sentinel, who like shoots him a stone cold glare and says, "No, Sergeant, we haven't seen them."
Back to the bar.
Well then, we best go looking for them. We don't want to miss the trams.
Mm-hmm. So you guys continue along the street, just idly looking for if you can find any more of them. And as you're going along, you pass one of the only areas of actual cold stone and ground still left inside Bellium Prime, which is a cemetery for the local miners and brethren who die in the area. And it's one of the greater graveyards in Bellium Prime. And as you guys are wandering past just outside the gates into the large cavernous area, in the very pale glow light of a glow lamp that lines all along the street of the graveyard between the vast roving graveyard of thousands of individuals, you see what appears to be Angel just standing in like the middle of the crossroads, staring down at one of the graves, and Sentinel just prods you in the ribs for a second fit and says, "Sergeant, I think that's Angel over there. God, Emperor knows what she's doing in there, though."
Let me go talk to her. And I put out the glow stick and go into the graveyard.
You want anyone
take
to
out
follow
my
you?
helmet. No, I'll just say,
You tell Sentinel to keep them all in order while
Yeah,
you
yeah.
talk to her. Alright.
keep him around.
Okay, so
Freighter, you want?
Sentinel just turns to the rest of you and says, "All right, you lugs, get into formation. We need to make this quick and easy. Just wait for the sergeant to get back."
And a few steps behind Angel, I call out for Vena.
So she just turns around, hearing your voice, and salutes silently and says, "Sergeant," before turning back to the grave again in a pretty flat monotone that she normally goes with. And she just looks back at the grave again and says, "Sorry, sir, I didn't mean to get out of order. I'll come with you now." And she just turns around slowly and walks up to you.
I walk up to her, to the grave she's looking at, and
Meeting
I
her
say,
like halfway.
Yeah, and I say, "It's all right. We all need to do our businesses. You don't need to stick around with us for forever." And I look over her shoulder at the grave and ask, "Someone you know?"
She just looks back at the grave for a sec and shakes her head and says, "No. I never knew my family. I'm told they're guardsmen and that they're buried on the Shrine World of Macaria. I've never been there myself. I was just thinking about them, I could never visit them, so I visited a place that's closest to them." And she just sort of looks off for a second and says, "It's nothing to fear."
It's all right. To miss one's parents is normal.
So she just nods and says, "Are we going back to the billet, sir?"
Yes, we still need to find Easy, But yes, have you seen him?
She nods and says, "Yes, I saw him heading to the Maglev line. I think he's already back at Atex 103."
Always the one to surprise us.
She nods and smiles a bit and says, "Indeed." And then she just starts walking back to the rest of the squad.
Yep, I let her walk off, and I stay for a little while longer in the graveyard, and then I get back to the group.
All right. So the Sentinel just looks at you as you come back, with a quizzical look at Angel, and just says, "Anything I should know, sir?"
Just family matters, Sentinel.
He just nods slowly, sir, and says, "As you say, sir." And he just says, "So back to the billet then? Or do you know where Easy is?"
Yes, he's made his way back to the base.
Or he just nods and then turns to the rest of the squad and says, "All right, we're heading back. You heard the sergeant. Step in. No fucking lollygagging. No fetting lollygagging, sorry." Everybody just starts marching off to the Maglev line. So you are at one of the pretty deserted stations. Most in Bellion Prime would be pretty, chocker blocked with crowds at this stage, coming back from an evening well spent, especially the guardsmen going to their own barracks. Well, the line guardsmen. But you guys are going to a pretty small group. There's only about 1,000 grenadier guards, and the majority of them are, spread over, different areas of Bellium Primus right now. So they'll all be coming back one or another. You're probably even one of the last because it's quite late. But you're not waiting more than 5 minutes before the extremely fast Maglev train comes and does an almost blindingly jarring stop, almost like on a dime or on a button. It literally stops at immense speeds as the energy from the Maglev just stops propelling it. And you guys all board the train, and you guys are more or less alone. There's the odd grenadier off in the corner, and you're pretty sure you saw Sergeant Elis and his group in one of the back carriages. They must have got on in one of the other stops. But it's not long before the train starts up again and quickly barrels to speeds of over 500 kilometers per hour and takes you straight to the Grenadier Barracks in less than 10 to 20 minutes. When you guys arrive, it is as you found it before. It's in one of the icy caverns near the surface of Thermos. This is because for about a week you guys experienced live surface training to expose you to extreme conditions. More than one of you thought you were going to die of frostbite, and more than one of you contracted it. But thanks to the skill of both Locke and Angel, none of you lost any fingers or toes. But despite that, it was probably one of the harshest times in your training regimen. Nonetheless, once you guys get back to the base, you find that most of the squad sergeants are rallying their rather inebriated squads back into their barracks and billets. And you guys find in your own barracks when you get back that Easy has already tucked himself into bed and is fast asleep.
Does he have a teddy bear?
So cute.
He does not have a teddy bear.
Aww.
So it's about 2 in the morning. You guys are about going to get at most 4 hours sleep before you have to wake up for transport to whatever transport ship is going to take you to the front, or wherever the front is going to be in this opening crusade. All you know is you're going to Hasdapur, which is it's basically it's an industrial world, and it's also the fleet capital of the segment of Pacificus, and that's where the crusade is going to begin. So one by one, you all stow your gear, change out of your fatigues, and get into bed and get ready for what's going to come. Most of you have fairly listless sleep and gain very little, back in the 4 hours you have to rest before, the laud hailers throughout ATX 103 go off, mustering you all into readiness for the transition into the Halo barges above. Thermos is a very atmospherically erratic planet, so there's very few places on the planet, mostly around the equator where Bellium Primus is, that are clear enough for large-scale transport into the atmosphere. And even though the Mechanicus can predict with almost 100% accuracy when these weather patterns are going to break and people can make transport up into space or into the void, these breaks in the weather can be far and few between. So this has been planned long beforehand, and if you were to fail to get on one of these ladders, you would face, well, these halo barges, you would face extreme disciplinary action for failing, if you know what I mean. So you and the rest of your squad fit, gather what gear you have, and get ready to go into the immense halo barge, which is going to take up about nearly 1,000 of you at a time, including your machinery and equipment, up into the the waiting ships above. You don't know much about where you're going, Fit. You just know the name of the vessel and its class you're going to. The name of the transport ship you're going to is a Carrack class transport vessel called the Sword of Mordia, and your billet is there, and you just know which Halo barge to go to. Besides that, you have no idea what world you're going to fight on, how long it is before you're going to reach this planet, or what's going to happen. You just simply know what ship you're going to be billeted on, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. It's all on a need-to-know basis right now.
Exactly.
So
you get everybody ready if you want to.
Yeah,
give a speech.
I rush everyone. If we have an hour, I say we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, you have like about an hour before the Halo barge is going to take off, so you rush everybody to get their gear and everything together.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to do a command check to see if you can get it off well enough and organize everything?
Sure, I'll do it. I'll try to whip people into shape. So yeah, this is it, man. Today's the day. The day we'll leave this planet behind us and go out to give glory to the Empire. We have 40 minutes to get to the transports. Now move it.
When you go to check on Fett, he's in the bathroom, right, taking a shower. But the way he takes a shower is he points the shower head to the middle of the bathroom because he doesn't fit in the bathtub. So he's just standing in the middle of the bathtub with the shower, soaking the room.
Any modifier for that?
Yeah, you can have a +10 because that was a pretty good speech.
I'll re-roll. Fuck it.
All right.
Fuck.
The Emperor hates you.
So the cruising from the night before seems to have given everyone quite a bit of a headache, and it takes a few more. Well, it takes, instead of the 5 minutes you were planning to get everyone dressed and ready, it takes quite a bit longer. It takes you a good 10 minutes to untangle Fett from the long line he ripped out of the wall for like the hose, if you know what I mean, and you and Easy struggle to unwrap him from like the hose, if you know what I mean, but you finally managed to do it. Crater and Voxbox look like they both have the hangover of the center, if you know what I mean, and they're moving quite slow and sluggish. But after about 20 minutes, you guys get your shit together and finally manage to make it to the Halo barge, even though you're one of the last to board it.
Fuck it, still under an hour.
Yeah. So the Halo barge is a vast bulk carrier, which has clearly been, altered for troop transport. It's normally used to transport vast amounts of cargo to and from the surface of planets. But this one has been fitted with racks upon racks of seating arrangements that you can all strap yourselves into. It even has a specially built sort of cage for Fett at the back, as well as the other 5 Ogrins. The other 4 Ogrins of the various squads. So you guys are basically put on a cage, basically, at the back.
Poor guys.
It's because you guys don't like...
The cage is full of you.
He doesn't
We're
like...
in the nice part.
The nice part, yeah. There's no, like, even harness or anything, then, like, when it takes off, you guys, like, flop all over the place.
Yeah, we're free to move. You're all strapped in.
Well, don't come to me if you have a concussion.
So you guys take off, and it takes about 20 minutes to break through the atmosphere and get up into the void of space. And when you reach there, you finally, there's at least a dozen or more Imperial Navy ships. The majority of them are transports, heavy laden, fat hauling cargo ships, including the Sword of Mordia. But there are a few escort frigates and light cruisers which also seem to be your military escort. You manage to get a good look at what the Sword of Mordia is. It's painted in the pale green of the Segmentum, the pale green and gold of the Segmentum Pacificus Navy, and it's at least 2 kilometers long, and it's probably the biggest structure you've ever seen in and of itself. But the world below you, even though it's not the world it is there, is an icy ruin, and for the first time, this is the first time the majority of you have ever seen like outside of your planet or like the stars around it. So the vast majority of the Grenadier guards around you like gasp and look outside the window and take in the enormity of like the universe around you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I bet that once the seatbelt lights turn off, everyone just piles around the windows.
Yeah, literally as soon as the harnesses go off, like everyone is crowding the windows, and most of them, there's a large ruckus of conversation as people like gasp at the Sword of Mordia, the huge vessel in front of you, as the Halo barge approaches one of its massive docking bays. So once the Halo barge sets down in one of the docking bays of the Sword of Mordia, you guys are told over the internal loud hailer of the Halo barge to grab your gear and kit and to form into squads and get yourself organized for, billeting it inside the Sword of Mordia.
All right.
Okay, so you guys get into your squads, and the large the large disembarking ramp drops down again, and one by one your squad names are called and drawn off. First the entire first platoon, and then the first company, and then the second company, and they call Master Sergeant second grade Fit, first squad second company. Get your squad in order and come to me, please. You're not sure who said it, but you can hear his loud voice over in the corner of the docking bay.
Yep, I get everyone ready to go. Make sure we don't leave anything important behind.
So when you find him in the
off.
corner, when you find this guy in the corner who's waiting for you, you approach what appears to be a naval officer of some description, but by judging by his insignia and his rank, he's a Vendorum officer of some kind. And the Vendorum are basically people who manage billeting, barracksing, and places where soldiers live and sleep, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And he's being escorted by 2 field enforcement corps, which are basically like military police, if you know what I mean. And as he sees you approach, he just says, "Sergeant Fit."
Yep, I forgot the word.
Salute.
Yes, I salute him and say, "Yes, sir."
So he just nods and says, "Please get your ragtag band in order and follow me, please." And he just sort of looks at you with a bit of mild distaste. And you can tell that this guy is most definitely Void-born. He's probably lived or served his entire life aboard the Sword of Mordia or even other Void ships. He has a pretty pallid complexion about him, and his skin sort of hangs loosely on him. And he has the typical sort of long-drawn, gaunt features of people who have lived their life in low-gravity conditions and have had, G-enforcement medical augments to deal with such things, if you know what I mean. So he looks even more pale and sickly than some of you guys do, if you know what I mean, like an extremely pale complexion. He's probably never had any natural light, if you know what I mean.
We look like ghosts. He looks as if he's about to vanish.
Yeah, he looks like translucent almost. So he just...
You can see what he ate.
Yeah, so just mild distaste, he sort of leads you on. He clearly thinks you're like a bunch of rustics from a backwater planet, if you know what I mean. And he sort of escorts you down into a long ascender, which, without speaking much, he just sort of stands beside you with a mild bit of distaste, and Sentinel just sort of looks at you and says, "This isn't exactly a warm welcome, is it, sir?"
I lean back into Sentinel and say, "No, but the Imperial Navy and the Imperial Guard do have history from what I've been told. So this, I would say he's a friend, and if it matters much."
So Sentinel just sort of shakes his head and says, "Fething Starsiders."
Be patient. We'll be by ourselves soon enough.
So you guys continue on for some time until the ascender stops and a chime of mechanical beeping comes out and then translates it from Technolingua into English and says, Deck 3, Billeting Barracks. And then the naval Venadorum officer just says, please follow me. And he escorts you down a long series of almost like fishbone corridors in shape, if you know what I mean. And he takes you into a large door in front of you and swipes a keypad in front of it and seems to read some biometric data off him as well. And then the door is cleared and open, and you hear like some gas decompression, and he leads you into what appears to be a very large billeting barracks. So you guys can all see this?
Yep.
Loading up.
Mm-hmm. So he leads you into the room and stands at what appears to be like a set of railings with stairs just in front of them and to the sides, and sort of turns around almost like he's someone giving a speech and other things, and turns to you and says, this is the building for 1st Squad 2nd Company under Sergeant Fit. This will be your quarters for our voyage to Hastapur, and if it should be decided by the chain of command, this will also be your quarters for quite some time. I suggest you look after it with delicate care. It has been prepared for you and has served many Imperial regiments for centuries now. You should find all the amenities you need to survive here. In turn, the Grenadier Guard have all been stationed along the third deck, along with elements of your line infantry, I believe. As you understand, Imperial naval regulations require that no armsman is armed at any time with any form of las weaponry, as this can penetrate and damage the hull. As such, arms detectors are located on all decks. Should you fail to comply with this, you will be punished under the Field Enforcement Corps regulations, and these gentlemen to my sides, the two men in the blue-green naval uniforms of the Segmentum Pacificus, just sort of stare at you, will deal with you appropriately. Imperial law still applies here, gentlemen, and Imperial military law even more. And then he just sort of looks to you and says, Sergeant Fit, do you have any further questions?
Where are the training grounds?
So he just sort of nods and says, there is a number of, gyms and, a number of training grounds and gymnasiums available on this deck. There is a ballistic range that has been converted from the back cargo hold, but I'm afraid we are rather limited. Up until recently, this vessel was for Imperial navalmen only. We have recently been renovated to accommodate Imperial Guard regiments, he says with a bit of distaste. And he just sort of looks at you and says, I'm afraid you'll have to do what you're given.
We will.
So he just sort of looks around with the, like he doesn't want to be here, and just sort of says, if that's all, and sort of like a bored, unamused tone.
It is all. Thank you, sir.
So he just sort of nods and gives like a very lazy salute.
Yep, I salute him.
And they all leave.
Showing my superior salute.
You do a nice crisp salute to his lazy one.
Of course. Gotta show him up.
Right.
And then once the doors close, I'm like, feffing Starsiders.
So Vox just sort of starts coming to the front, even though he's like breaking line, and he just sort of says, so Sarge, can we just grab any billet we want? And he just sort of starts eyeing some of the nicer looking beds.
Serve yourselves.
He just sort of
I don't want any fighting over the beds, though.
He just sort of smiles and starts running, and Crater literally just pushes in and starts like jumping over the railings as well. And they both immediately grab these beds here. And Sentinel just turns to you and says, Sergeant, I think we have a bit of a problem.
What is it, Sentinel?
He just sort of looks at you and then at Feth, and then he looks back to you again and says, do any of these beds look like they're going to take him?
No.
What does he sleep on normally? The floor?
Reinforced bed. Probably.
For a while, he's been sleeping on basically just like a stone slab, similar to the one that Space Marines sleep on. But there's basically nothing here that's been designed for an ogre.
I could just make some room in the corner.
So Sentinel just turns to Easy and says, Forbin, look after him, will you? And then Forbin just sort of says, yes, Corporal, and follows you, Fett, and he just goes, come on, Fett, we'll make a nice place for you to sleep over here. Maybe I can find a mattress that's free. And everybody else just starts grabbing billets.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is your barracks for the next while. Over here is your, shower area. Over here is your mess hall. And every one of you else has a locker where you're expected, like the Vendorum naval officer basically told you, to stow your gear at all times. You're not allowed to be armed while this vessel is moving. Alright?
Shouldn't need to be.
What about my ripper gun?
Your what, sorry?
It doesn't shoot a laser.
His Ripper gun.
Fat, let's just obey by the rules of that.
But he
Very
said
nice.
lasers.
Well, he still did say that we cannot be armed.
Alright.
So let's just abide by that gentleman's rules while we are in here. Okay.
We have two beds. We can literally just push two beds together, and he can sleep on that.
Yeah, you could actually push beds together if you want to do it.
If they support his weight.
Just take the mattresses off the frames.
It'd take like 4 beds pushed together to...
Yeah, I'll make a nest here in the corner.
Yeah, we have 3 free beds. I guess we can just take out the mattresses off of
How
off of
tall are
those.
ogres exactly?
They're like really fucking tall. They're taller than Space Marines. So.
Shit.
We can make a bed with the bones of our enemies for you, Fett.
Eventually, yeah. But yeah, I would say we take out 3 mattresses off the beds and make a little nest for Fett.
Alright, so you just move them over into the corner there for Fett? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Fett. Lengthwise,
So
you might
luxurious.
Lengthwise, you might just be able to sleep on that. Alright, so not long after you guys make yourself comfortable, start stowing all your kit and getting ready for whatever's going to happen. It takes about 3 or 4 hours before all the men and equipment are ferried from the surface of Thermos up to their various transports. It seems like the majority of the men are on the Sword of Mordia, while the tanks and other materials are on other transport ships. But after about 4 hours, the Navy begins to break orbit from Thermos, and the vast majority of the guardsmen and the grenadiers are all at the observation ports at the top deck of the ship as they watch their world sink away into the blackness of the void that they're probably never going to see again. Do any of you also go up there and watch your world sink away?
I will.
Boomer will.
Oh, I'm on the other side watching the moon.
I don't even know if you know where you come from, Fett, let alone that it's a moon, if you know what I mean.
Easy points it out for him. Like, oh, you come from one of those.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see the back of that place.
And he just picks the shiniest one.
Yeah. So while you guys are all there observing it, you find that Sentinel has wandered off into a corner where what appears to be like a missionary of the Imperial Creed is saying a litany of protection to the various guardsmen who are particularly faithful, and he and about 100 others are on their knee listening to the sermon, while Thermos fades off into the distance. Angel herself is completely silent and just sort of looks out with a grim determination on her face. Crater and Voxbox are nowhere to be found. Like, they don't even care that they're there. It looks like they disappeared off to the mess hall. And they told, well, Voxbox told you, Piker, that he and Crater were going to see if there were any men up for a little bit of cards in the mess hall, if you know what I mean.
Piker just stays in bed. He doesn't watch it. Yeah, he's
like a lazy
tired.
motherfucker.
Easy is just escorting Feth around to make sure he doesn't sit on anyone. There we go. All right. So,
what about Locke? What's Locke doing?
Yeah, what's Locke doing as your...
I was kind of thinking about getting on Fett's good side so I can potentially use him later and look if there's any spare beds. Good to have someone that can cause a lot of damage in your pocket.
All right. So as the day comes to an end, it takes a...
Are you there, Warren?
Yeah, just a sec. I need to restart my Wi-Fi, alright? So,
Okay.
I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Welcome back. Yep.
Great, sorry about that. Wi-Fi was just going to be weird. Yes, like I was saying, it takes about a day for you and the rest of the fleet and squadron that you guys are a part of to reach the edge of the Thermian system. And then you guys... A lot of people gather on the observation deck to observe what is going to be your first transition through the warp. Most of you are, pretty scared out of your mind because you've all heard the tales that the warp is like, essentially hell in the heart of darkness, and only through the divine intervention of the Emperor can a safe voyage through it be made possible. So yet again, there are a great deal of people praying. Most of you are scared shitless out of your minds, but all the necessary preparations to enter into warp are prepared. It takes about 20 minutes. The transition poles at the head of the prow of the ship project out and then rip a tear literally into the immaterium, and the ship transitions from real space into the madness of the warp. And since this is the first time any of you have seen the warp, even though most of it is dampened and dilated by the special mechanisms and glass, you still see the swirling chaotic objects of like purple, brown, grey, white, orange, and every other color in the spectrum just outside the window as space like peels away and becomes like a swirling vortex of energy. So everybody roll willpower for me. Who went up to observe this? If you were too afraid to do it, that's fine with me. But
Boomer went out of curiosity.
It's
fear.
Me
too.
It's fear, remember, so you have +10 to resist fear. So.
I'm sleeping, so I'm not rolling, I guess.
you just slept all day, alright.
I failed.
Sweet.
So anyone who fails sort of recoils a bit in horror, along with most of the other people on the ship, and other people who are observing it, and various other members of the Ecclesiarchy party under what you're told is Archconfessor Flavius, Victor, who have joined you on the Sword of Mordia. They're from the cardinal world of Macaria, but they've been assigned to your regiment. Most of them, waft through the congregated masses of guardsmen with, incense braziers, warding against the warp and all its horrors and things like that, and they calm your spirits. But anyone who failed that, you're left with a bit of a sense of doom, if you know what I mean, just as you stare into it. Okay.
It's so dark out there.
Basically. Yeah. So it's going to take it takes a couple of weeks to transition to Hastapur, which is where you're heading to. But in the meantime, um, a number of things happen. Often you guys find yourselves, wandering between the ballistics range during training for your squad. Other times you just wander the vastness that is the Sword of Mordia along the third deck that you're allowed to stay on. You guys aren't given any access to like the bridge or anything like that. You're far too unimportant for that. But every now and then you're called to staff meetings, Hariel, along with your captain, Captain Rankar, which is this guy here, which you can read more about now if you didn't know before. But he basically just constantly wants status reports of your squads, how you're progressing. Are you combat ready? Is there any issues you should be aware of on any of your troopers? Squad strength, things like that. It's just constant ragtag military bureaucracy and order. But you sense that behind Rankar's bureaucratic and very regimental structure, he's definitely got a purpose to what he's doing. And it seems that he's a little, you wouldn't go so far as to say afraid for your safety. Well, afraid for how you're going to perform as things happen. But he knows that you're untested, even though you've been through, some pretty hellish training that he devised, basically, because he's Acadian, because they love that shit. But other than that, you can tell he's hesitant to see how you'll perform under battle conditions, and it seems like he knows something you don't, if you know what I mean. But as the days go on and drag into weeks, and then the second week, life aboard the Sword of Mordia becomes fairly average for you guys. And once again, you guys find yourselves getting up for early morning breakfast inside the mess hall. And, you find some familiar faces out here. And once again, actually, you should be down there with them this time, Piker. You find yourself entering into the mess hall, where a number of people have already gathered. Sentinel should not be here already. He's gone on a break. Angel is eating alone in the corner there. And Easy is just walking around with you, Fed. So you've been playing cards all morning, into the third day of your second week on board the Sword of Mordia, Piker, along with Voxbox and Crater. And between you two, and you've earned some pretty decent throwing guilds. You've earned more than a week or two's wage between you, and it's become difficult to find opponents, if you want to know what I mean, because people are convinced you guys are basically taking them for fools, if you know what I mean, and that you're a lot better at what you're doing and you lay it on. So it's been a lucky day that you've actually managed to find someone who's confident enough to play with you, and so far you've taken him for about a month of his wages. And things are not going well for him. In the corner of the room, as the rest of you enter, you notice that Sergeant Elis is there with some of the superior corporals of his squad, and they seem to be going, just chatting over various squad details over breakfast. Angel is sitting alone eating at a fairly discarded table, but there are also dozens of other guardsmen in the huge long area. Most of them are either eating or gambling. There's the obvious normal thrum of discussion and talk between them all. And what do you guys want to do?
Get some food.
So this is the food dispenser over here.
Just a minute.
Sure. Please, go ahead, Fat. No problem.
Easy just comes up to you and says, sorry, Sergeant. He gets kind of excited when food's involved.
I'm almost done.
It's all right.
He says as he takes a second tray and fills it with food.
Just a little more. All right.
Jeez, is there anything left?
What's Fet's favorite food, Aaron?
Bananas.
Nutrient paste.
He just has a bowl of mushed bananas, a huge giant bowl.
Yeah, I get myself some food.
So Easy just comes up and gets some as well and sits down beside Fat and, sort of smiles as he watches the big guy eat like his bowl of mushed bananas with a ladle or whatever.
I say,
Oh man.
ladies, step aside a bit.
Yeah, Boomer takes her food, sniffs it.
None of the food you're eating is actual food, it's approximations of food made with chemical protein.
Yeah, I cannot smell shit, so I don't care.
Fat to you, everything just smells like bananas.
Some are better than others.
Yeah.